The Paul Bunyan Trophy is on the line. We got an amazing and probably what will be historic rivalry game this weekend in the Big Ten. Michigan State. That's up next, right here on Ballard Sports Media. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Christian Ballard here at Ballard Sports Media. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in today and watching as I do this Michigan State preview video, getting ready for a huge showdown over in East Lansing, Michigan, this upcoming Saturday. I'm excited for this. I love this rivalry. These are two very historic programs, and I'll tell you what, this is a good rivalry too. They call it the battle for Paul Bunyan's Trophy. Of course, Michigan and Michigan State. You got the Wolverines and the Spartans. Wanted to real quick, first off, I'll say this. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. I do all kinds of, especially college football content, a lot of big things coming in 2022 as this year is now coming to a close within the next month and a half or so. We get into the holidays and everything. I always enjoy Thanksgiving and Christmas and everything. Best time of the year. But ultimately, this year is going to end. There's going to be a lot of big changes up and coming. Want to get more professional with the channel, keep growing it. Let's keep sharing this stuff out. I love each and every one of you. Jesus loves you too. Figured I'll let you guys know that today in case nobody told you already. All right, we want to look at this game here. Number 6 on number 8, a top 10 matchup. These are two historic programs. Now, I read some stats today and everything, and some of it might actually be surprising. I don't know, but I want to first dive into the historics of this rivalry. This is awesome. I'm excited. This is the first time both these teams are undefeated ever. At least according to what I've read. I think when I was reading some other game previews for this, ESPN, SB Nation, or whoever else put it out, they were talking and, there's been times where these teams have met and at least one of them's been undefeated. But I think it's the first time ever they've actually met on the field where both teams were actually undefeated. And we'll dive into the game summary on ESPN and everything here in a bit. But just wanted to look real quick at history at what it shows here. Let me full screen that for you guys. Michigan and Michigan State. They first met back on October 12th, 1898. Going back 22 years or something, right? When you look at it, overall, Michigan does lead the series, and it's not even close. They've met 113 times, 71, 37, and 5, right? Ever since the trophy series, going back, I don't know, y'all do that math. They have 71 wins, the Wolverines, but they have 38 since the trophy came along. So, but you have that. They're supposed to meet this Saturday on the 30th here, 5 days away, at least as I'm recording this on Monday. The longest win streak, Michigan won 14 straight, 1916 to 1929. Michigan won last year after Michigan State won last year, I'm sorry, when you look back at it, after losing 2. And it is a back-and-forth series. I mean, the early 2000s, it was all Michigan, it seemed like, from 02 to the 100th meeting ever in East Lansing. And overall in the series, Michigan won that. Michigan State finally got a win 7 years later. They won in 01, and then they met in 08, and Michigan State ended up winning. So it's not, and again, you can see here too, it's not the first time that they've both been ranked, but really undefeated. And it's incredible. They've met 113 times, I mentioned. And, again, they met last year, 27-24. Last year is meaningless. Call it what it is. It's great for the rivalry. It's good that Michigan State got that victory. I'm sure it surprised some people, but I mean, it's crazy. And I'm looking at it too. Is this really how they spell Michigan? Like, I'm not trying to make fun, but it just looks all weird. I don't really see, like, I see the team logos more than I see the team names, if you get what I'm saying. Anyway, so last year, a field goal, whatever, 27-24, the Spartans got the victory over the Wolverines. One of the few wins for Michigan State, actually, but it was still a good game. This year, forget about the past. I'll say this: it's a very historic rivalry. If you've never watched the game, I recommend you get a chance to watch it this Saturday. I'm not working on Saturday, at least for right now, as far as I know. So I'll have a chance to really watch not just this game, but all the games. But I really want to watch this one. This is going to be good. It's top 10. Again, I mentioned number 6, Michigan. They're 7-0. Number 8, Michigan State and East Lansing, 7-0. Battle for Paul Bunyan and the trophy. Michigan State has an amazing defense with Mel Tucker as the head coach. He's in year 2, and he's doing amazing. Harbaugh's in his 6th year, is hired back in 2014, 2015. And Michigan, of course, also has great defense. This is going to be a noon game on Fox, by the way. The opening line is Michigan by 4.5. Let me go ahead real quick and hop in to the game predictor and everything, the game summary, I should say, on ESPN with the FBI and all that. You have number 6, Michigan, 7-0, 4-0 in the conference. Michigan State, 7-0, 4-0 in the conference. You look back. Who has had the tougher schedule? I'd say Michigan, but I think it's kind of close. I mean, they both played Nebraska. They both played Rutgers. Northwestern versus Indiana. Who would you take as the tougher opponent? Michigan played last week, by the way, this past Saturday. Michigan State got a bye week. Michigan had their bye week 2 weeks ago on the 16th. They should have played. They did not. It was their bye week again. I don't know who's had the tougher schedule. I think both are just as tough, but you got to give credit at least. I mean, Michigan State took care of a ranked Miami team on the road, 38-17. Outside of that Western Kentucky game, their defense, Michigan State, has looked pretty good. They got some key players on the roster when you look at it. But I'll say this. I think this is truly the first real test for both of these teams. And you can say whatever you want to about, like, oh, well, it still doesn't mean anything. It's just a rivalry game, and that's really all this is here, and it's top 10, and this isn't really their test. We won't know until they play Penn State or Ohio State. I don't know. I really don't know. But they both have great, talented players. You got to give them credit. You got to give them props. And look, it's interesting because, again, I mentioned they're undefeated. And that's a rarity for this one. It's the first time that they've been undefeated. It's a top 10 matchup. And I mean, Michigan State's defense, I think, is one of the better, and I think it's one of the more underrated in the country. It's one of the better in the Big Ten. And I'd say the same thing about Michigan, too. They have really good defense as well. Um, and again, Paul Bunyan Governor Trophy. Paul Bunyan, if you don't know who that was, basically a lumberjack. Michigan's a big state, like lumber production or whatever, with wood. So, I mean, they have a trophy in honor of a former governor in Paul Bunyan, who was a big, tough guy, lumberjack, whatever. And so, I mean, I guess that's how they got their trophy name. That's what I read. I'm not trying to make any foolishness up. That's just what I've read. I was curious. I'm like, I know I've heard of Paul Bunyan before. I didn't realize who it actually was. Anyway, you look at this series too. They have met 113 times. This will be 114 this week. If I'm not, yes, 114 this week. 71, 37, and 5. So Michigan practically owns Michigan State all time. But I think it's closer than it looks like on paper. Like on paper, you look at 71 to 35 or 37. That's crazy. That's a huge gap. But truly, I mean, it's a big rivalry. It's big for the state. It's big in general. It's very competitive. And look, it's going to be a great game. It really is. I think I don't know what to expect. But I will say that just expect a close game in a way. I mean, it's not going to be like a huge blowout, but anything could happen. This rivalry has shown that anything could happen. They had didn't they have, I thought, like a blocked field goal or whatever a few years ago in this rivalry, and or maybe it was a made field goal to win it. Some weird field goal thing that happened a few years ago. And there's like this big meme. Everyone saw that one Michigan fan in the crowd just standing there. I'll go ahead and move on real quick. Let's just dive in. Forget about history. Again, Michigan leads at 71, 35, and 5. They played 113 times. You go back to the first meeting, 1898. Michigan beat Michigan State 39-2. The second meeting, let me tell you this stat. Michigan won again 119-0. Now, if you go back, the biggest victory margin or whatever, I think it was Georgia Tech over Cumberland, 222-0. So Michigan, 119 points in a football game. Yeah, that's a big deal. That's huge, but I mean, it's not the most ever scored. So just a fun fact there. And again, it was in Ann Arbor last year. Michigan State had won that game 27-24. Okay, how do these teams win? That's what I want to know, right? When you look at it, how do these teams win the game? And is it close? Like, do you look at this and say, oh, forget them being undefeated, one of them sucks, or they both suck, just wait till they play this team or that team in the Big Ten? I don't know, man. I love both of these defenses. So how do these teams win? I'll start with Michigan. Cade McNamara has been proven to be the key quarterback, the key guy. He needs a great performance in this game against a talented defensive front by Michigan State. O-line has got to block for him. He needs like what he had in the Wisconsin game. Now, Wisconsin's not that good this year. We've seen that. But he had a really big game. And Michigan ended up winning that game 38-17, of course. He had 197 yards throwing through the air, 60% completion percentage. He had 2 touchdowns, had a QBR of 89.6. Only 2 touchdowns. Well, okay. Well, he can do better than that, I'm sure. He's got to do better than that. Nothing short of what he did against Wisconsin a few weeks ago. Um, and when you look at it too, he has overall over 1,000 yards passing. He's got 5 touchdowns and he's got a pick. Compare that to Peyton Thorne. 15 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, slightly more yards. 1,701. Again, 15 touchdowns and 4 picks for Peyton Thorne, right? So let me zoom in just a little bit for you guys here too. And you look at the points per game. You look at like Michigan is scoring more by like 3 per game. Like this is on average, of course, and their defense is allowing a little less. The spread is so close. It's at 4.5. 51.5 is the over-under. Now, Michigan State is a better, passing threat offense. They got 251 yards through the air on average, or total yards, whatever. Compare that. That's a huge difference right there. It's not like 100 difference, but it's still a pretty big margin. Compare that to 189 for Michigan, which isn't bad, but clearly Michigan State leads in that. In the secondary of Michigan, I think, is where the problem is, because they're allowing 182 passing yards, 116 rushing. These defenses are not the best in college football this year, but they're pretty good. They do good in terms of red zone defenses and holding teams to points, like low points, so that way the games aren't too close or whatever. But yardage, man, they can give up some big plays and have a hard time on third down sometimes, both of these teams. So I'm not even going to try to sit here and criticize one over the other. And I do give the edge again to Michigan State. You look at their defense. Xavier Henderson is going to be a pro in the draft this upcoming year. He's a key guy. He's got 37 tackles. He's got 2 sacks for a total loss of 14 yards. He's got a pick. He's got a forced fumble. Quavarius Crouch is a key linebacker that they like to bring up front when you watch it. And, it's amazing to see. So Michigan State's got some key players. Michigan's got some key offensive players. I mentioned the quarterback. You look at Hassan Haskins has the most rushing attempts. But compare him to the key running back who doesn't have as many attempts, but he has more yards and he averages more per carry. And he has the longest running play of any of these. Well, no, I take that back. For the running backs, he has the longest rushing play of 67 yards. Blake Corum, again, 10 touchdowns for him, 10 rushing touchdowns for Hassan Haskins. The longest rushing attempts for anybody with the ball. AJ Henning is a key receiver you want to watch. And so on. Cornelius Johnson, Dalen Baldwin, Roman Wilson are some key receivers you want to watch on Michigan and the Wolverines. They got Josh Ross, Daxton Hill, Aiden Hutchinson is one of the top edge rushers, very strong, fast, quick to the point of attack of quarterbacks. He's one of the key guys in the draft. I love watching him play. I think Michigan more so is better defensively this year than their offense. It's not to say that their offense is down or whatever, but I think that they've kind of always been that way, to lead more so on the defensive side of the ball. Michigan State's, honestly, I'd kind of say the same thing, but Michigan State just clearly has the better offense of these two teams. I think that Peyton Thorne has proven to be a better quarterback. Kenneth Walker the third is like none of these guys are like Heisman type, at least for right now in the season, but they're pretty darn good, and you need to watch out for them. Going into it. So I'm just going to try to make this very, very quick for you guys. And what these teams need to do. How do they win the game? I would say if you're Michigan, Cade McNamara has to have a great performance where, like the Wisconsin game that he had, they won that game 38-17. The defense has to show up and shut down Peyton Thorne. I'll get to that in a minute. McNamara has to have a good performance. He had a 60% completion. He had 2 touchdowns. He threw for just shy of 200 yards against a pretty good defense in Wisconsin. Wisconsin is known for being really good in pass rush efficiency and everything, and getting after quarterbacks. He handled it very well. His stats could be a lot better. They really could. 60 completion percentage or whatever. That's pretty low. I mean, it is, but that was his best game. He had a QBR in that game of 89. So McNamara has to show up. His receivers and everybody for Michigan, they have to show up too when you look at it. Cornelius Johnson, I mentioned Roman Wilson, or Blake Corum is a running back they like to throw the ball to sometimes. Eric All, the tight end, has 16 receptions for 157 yards. The two key guys are Dalen Baldwin and Cornelius Johnson. When you look at that, and then of course you got to look at some key guys like Angelo Gross and Xavier Henderson, 2 key safeties, secondary players that are going to try to guard the Michigan. Cornelius Johnson and Baldwin, of course, those are the 2 key guys that Xavier Henderson or Angelo Gross, are on Michigan State's defense. They're going to have to go up and defend that. Again, this game being in East Lansing, I think Michigan State has a little bit a shorter advantage. And you look at this, it's so cool to see where we are with this. We have 4 teams, although Penn State's kind of dropped off a little bit. But how about 4 SEC, or not SEC, I'm sorry, Big Ten East teams that are ranked, that are in competition and contention and looking for a playoff spot soon. So, look, I'm going to just cut to the chase here. I won't babble on too much. Michigan needs Cade McNamara to be on point. The offensive line has got to block. I think they've done a good job of that, but they're going up against one of the better defenses that they've had to face this year. And Michigan State has defense. They got to pressure McNamara. They got to blitz him. They got quite a few options. They change up formations here or there. I noticed watching them, they try to crowd the line a bit. They don't really have much in secondary coverage. Like, obviously, you have guys back there, but it's not very loaded. They like to stack the what do they say? Stack the box, stack the line, whatever it is. Bring some guys up front, extra linebackers, linemen, whatever. Obviously, keeping 11 men out there, but you need that. So that defense for Michigan State's got to step up, but Cade McNamara has to handle it, right? These are 2 really good offenses and defenses, but I think both teams are really more led because of the quarterbacks and the weapons that they have when you look at it overall. And, Michigan State, when their offense gets out there, Peyton Thorne and company, Kenneth Walker, he needs to get the ball. He has to have O-line protection, have open space, open lanes to go out and run the ball. He's got to be able to do that. I think he can. The O-line will really help him out. They got some key guys up front. They got some key guys on the line that can really help. I think so. I think this is going to be a fun game to watch this year. And again, I mentioned it's like the first time ever that they've really been undefeated. So, I mean, look, if one team loses, their season's not done. A lot would have to happen. I mean, you look at teams like Ohio State for both of these guys down the road. It's going to be tough. You got some key guys out there like Spencer Brown or Matt Allen, key blockers, Matt Carrick, for Michigan State on the O-line. Just some key guys overall that you look at that have to block for Peyton Thorne so he can have a great performance, be protected, and deliver the football to his receivers. That being said, I don't have a whole lot else to say other than I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be close and great. I don't think it's like one of those come down to the wire. I think one of these teams, and I'll get to who in a minute, I think is just going to be one of those where in the fourth quarter, they're just going to pull away just a little bit. And again, I mentioned McNamara has to have a great performance. I think he will. I don't know if it's going to be enough for Michigan. I think the defense is going to be great. But overall, I got to give the edge offensively from what I've seen this year to Michigan State. And I do think ultimately that being said, I think the offense that has the better game and can throw the ball and run the ball more effectively is going to be the team that ultimately wins this game. This is at Spartan Stadium. This is undefeated on undefeated. I wouldn't be surprised how this game goes either way as long as it's pretty close, with like under 2 possessions, if anything. I'm just going to go ahead and give it to you guys. I got Michigan State winning 34-23, and you guys let me know. Maybe I'm off. Maybe I'm missing something. I see great defenses, but I really see some offenses. And if you think that this is going to be one of those weird, like whatever happened with Clemson and Georgia, oh no, it'll be like a 21-14 game or something. I don't know. I see some points in this game, but I don't see anything too major. 34-23, that's combined 57 points right there. The over-under is 51.5 in this game. And again, the spread too, we looked at it was 4.5. I don't know. I just have a feeling Michigan State, yes, they're the underdog, but I have a weird feeling they're the better team this year. Looking at it, and I think it's better than 4.5. I don't think it's going to be like a super close game. Again, 11 points. I got 34-23, but I mean, I could be wrong. Michigan could go in there and straight kill the Spartans. They could do that. They might not. I don't know what to expect. But this is all my opinion. This is what I have. I want to hear from you guys in the comments. Let me know what you think. Who's going to win this game? What's your score prediction? Who do you want to win? Who do you see winning? And any Michigan or Michigan State fans out there, let me know why your team's going to win. And also let me know what some of your favorite moments in this rivalry are. Anybody out there that's paid close attention to it. So anyway, that being said, I love you guys. I'm going to get out of here. 34-23. That's at least my guess. I just have a weird feeling that it'll be really close, one possession or something. Kind of go back and forth a little bit, but not a super huge shootout. And look, if you take a touchdown away from Michigan State, you're at 27-23. They could get an extra touchdown in there or two. Maybe they run the score up and Michigan doesn't have quite enough to really overcome it. I don't know. But anyway, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Again, this game, it's 11 a.m. Central. That's my time. But it's this week on the 30th, right before Halloween. Happy Halloween to everybody coming up next Sunday. But 11 a.m. kickoff. Michigan State, Michigan Wolverines, top 10 matchup, undefeated, both at 7-0, both at 4-0 in Big Ten conference play. I got Michigan State 34-23. I love you guys. Jesus loves you. God bless. And as always, as I say,
roll down Tide.
Love you guys. Jesus loves you. Ballard Sports Media. Check it out. Love you.